Welcome to the East West Football Network mock draft, NFL mock draft, and we're gonna do picks 1 through 10. Uh, Joining me today is Ned Lennon. He's a part of the East West Football podcast. Unfortunately, Walter Stringer was not able to tune in, but he's here in heart. He's here in our hearts. But we do have a special guest. This is Broshmo. He has his own YouTube channel, and you can follow it there. It's Broshmo. It's Broshmo. And remember, if you guys want to keep up to date with all these NFL prospects, NFL draft mock drafts, make sure you tune in to his channel on, like I said, on YouTube. And as always, subscribe, like, and turn on all notifications. You don't want to miss it. Broshmo, how many videos do you upload a week?
About 3 to 4. About 3 to 4.
Man,
As
it's
much as I can right now.
hey, but what I love is mock the mock, right? So like it's crazy because we'll see mock drafts from different places, and I love how you kind of put these guys on blast, So
I don't know about that.
wow,
I just give my opinion.
yeah, your opinion.
Everyone has their good takes, bad takes. That includes me.
Yeah. Hey, but all takes is good takes.
That's
So
right.
without further ado, let's get right into it. So I'm gonna go ahead and give out Walt's mock draft, and so there's been a couple shakeups here, right? And in recents, right? And the big talk right now is the Jaguars now are picking first. So without further ado, Walt's first pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars is none other than Trevor Lawrence.
No surprises there.
Yeah, no brainer.
Ned, Ned, is that your lock at number one?
Absolutely. I think Trevor Lawrence is the number one overall talent in the draft. And as far as quarterback prospects, he's, one of the best guys since Andrew Luck coming out. So I think that as far as, the Jets go, they lost, big, more so than they won on the weekend. And Jacksonville lucked out.
I
It's just
think that
Adam Gase keeping it to him.
Yeah.
yeah, I think you might be right. But when you actually look at the actual situation, I mean, that game, right? That was an intense game with the with I mean, it was a very hyped up game with Notre Dame and Trevor Lawrence. I think he just put his stamp of approval that he is as advertised, right? The overall best prospect in the entire NFL draft this year. So, Rochball, do you think anything can change? I mean, do you think the Jets blew it? I mean, what do you think? What do you
Oh,
think? What are you hearing?
yeah, the Jets blew it. The Jets blew it big. Like Ned said, dude. Lawrence is one of the best prospects we've seen since Luck, even before. Like, he's just phenomenal. Like, in that Notre Dame game, just untouchable. Like, Notre Dame, they would have never won that first meeting if Lawrence was in that game. They stood no chance. And that's a good defense. That's a good Notre Dame defense he's doing it
It
to.
is. It is.
So yeah, if I'm the Jags, it's no brainer. You run up the card now. Be
Uh,
like, yeah, it's Lawrence. Jets, they blew it. Adam Gase, it's his parting shot. So
I don't know if you saw this, but the actual governor of Jacksonville, I don't know if it was through his Facebook or what, but he just made it known like, "Thank you, New York Jets." And I
as
was
he
like,
should.
yeah, I mean, you stop and you look at it, but I mean, think about the impact because I mean, that's a pretty good Jaguars team that they've been able to put together, right? I mean,
They
you
have a
could.
lot of quality playmakers on that offense.
Yeah, I don't think they need a running back either. I mean, I think they hit goal with
Oh yeah.
with Josh Robinson, and then you got DJ Chark. I mean, I know he couldn't stay healthy this year, but when he did, I mean, he puts up good numbers. And the previous year they had Jawan Taylor, who was projected a top 15 pick, I think at most, and he fell to him in the second round. And then
Yeah.
that defense looks like it has the right pieces in place, and a promising corner in CJ Henderson. So it's he is from Georgia, so I mean Georgia and North Florida are kind of like there. So I don't know how he feels about it, right? But moving on, right? Walt has with his number two pick, and I have to since I didn't make these picks. Walt has the Jets selecting Penny Sewell, the left tackle out of Oregon. Roshmo, what do you think?
I love Penny Sewell. I don't like the. I don't think I like the pick just because Sam Darnold. He's broken. He's damaged goods at this point. Thank you, Adam Gase. They need a franchise quarterback. I mean, Darnold. He has flash, but it's like I don't know. This pick really does nothing for me. It's a great pick. He's going to be a great player, but without the quarterback, that's the most valuable part on offense on a team. And when you have guys that even if it's Zach Wilson, even if it's Justin Fields, I know they're not Lawrence, but they still, I think, hold a bit more value than Darnold at this point. And I think it's honestly best for Darnold just to move on somewhere, get a fresh start.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things. Is it's we know what you're going to get in Sam Darnold, right? And I think last year was very telling, especially when the Patriots came at him. And what did he say? I'm seeing ghosts. You never want to hear your quarterback say that. I don't know why he did that, but I mean, it is what it is. And we all say things when we're playing football. I guess when
Yeah.
we
He
were
had
playing
mono
football.
that year too, so
Yeah, that's also true.
guess that
Um,
came from the ghost. But
hey Ned, who do you have the Jets picking at number two?
So I agree with Broshmo. I think I've got the Jets taking a quarterback. I think it's going to be pretty telling in the lead up to the draft, even what they can get for Sam Darnold. I think that a lot of his value is going to be in that lead up for a team that wants to give him a second chance. Doesn't necessarily need a quarterback. I know a lot of people have been saying, the 49ers might take a flyer on him as a backup for Garoppolo. But where I've got them going is Zach Wilson. Um,
Whoa.
I think Zach Wilson, maybe not a top two talent, but as far as quarterbacks, I think he's going to be a good fit in New York. I think he's a guy that the New York fan base can get around. He's got great size, great athleticism, and a phenomenal arm. The study that guy does in the preparation is something that I think is going to really benefit his development in a new system as well.
Wow, Broshville, what do you think of that?
I like it. I'm still I'm withholding judgment on Fields. If he could really at least look good in the playoffs. I know he's looked terrible, but I mean, Ohio State, they've had cancellation after cancellation. The
Yeah.
team hasn't been able to get momentum, rhythm, anything going. But all these quarterbacks in this class, they've been improving their stock. Mac Jones, Kyle Trask, Zach Wilson, even Trevor Lawrence has looked amazing. Fields has done nothing but hurt that stock. But yeah, Wilson's been studied. A lot of people like to point out the Coastal Carolina game, and I thought he was phenomenal in the second half. I thought he was just making beautiful passes. He didn't lose that game for him by any means. So yeah, the guy's got he's got NFL arm talent. He's got a special arm. So yeah, I'm cool with that. Get your franchise guy, get the face of the franchise.
Well, that's pretty good, man. So let's go ahead and move on, man. We got the Bengals picking third, the Cincinnati Bengals, and Walter says that they're going to go ahead and since they lost out and his right, they lost Sewell. He says that the next best thing for them to do if they do lose Sewell in this case, is go ahead and draft the corner out of Alabama, Patrick Surtain the second. What do you think, Broshmo? If
Um,
if this played out, if Sewell's gone,
my first option would be to trade down. And in a mock, you can't really do that. So you're kind of stuck with where you're at.
yeah,
But then I'd probably go best player available. And just for me, Sertan, I still have Caleb Farley over Sertan. Sertan, I think he needs to prove he's not slow, at least for NFL evaluators. So the combine is going to be huge for him. I don't think he is, but he's produced 3 elite seasons at Alabama, playing the best competition in all of college football. I love him as a prospect, but I just think maybe there's better value for right now until all those things are kind of for sure, for sure. I'd honestly rather go maybe a Micah Parsons, a Jamar Chase, I even Quiddy Pay.
yeah. Wow, could he be that high? So,
He's a monster. He's a
well,
freak.
he has a motor that is crazy. I mean, what the way he gets off the line is it's insane. But I will say this, and this is for Walt. For Walt, Walt is big on bloodlines, and he just says this kid has been born to play corner. And yeah, I know people want to talk about the long speed, but when it comes down to it, everything from, I mean, he's just patient out of his breaks. He's born to play the position. He's gonna be a true ball hawk in the NFL. So
A lot of
I
people had similar concerns with Cameron Dantzler out of Mississippi State last year.
I think you're absolutely right on that one.
Yeah, and for the most part, he had a pretty rough beginning of the year, but he is the best corner on that Minnesota team. I think he's going to be a great NFL corner. And what shot his stock was that 40-yard time. He was like 4.6 something. It was just, yeah. Typically, stuff like that goes a little bit blown up.
It's unfortunate, right? Because that stuff sticks to you, even though after the
Yeah.
so picking third, the Bengals. Let's go back to your NFL mock draft, Ned. What do you got there?
Yeah, so I mean, with Penny Sewell still on the table in my side of things, I think it's the pick for them to go. You know, really shore up some protection for Joe Burrow for the next 10 years. I think that's the way that they've got to go. But I mean, like we've been talking about, the Jets are really the kind of wild card here. I think that with them now missing on Lawrence, they can go any number of different avenues, and that's really going to affect the picks immediately after them. I think that them taking a trade down, there's a lot of talent, particularly on the offensive line, that they could pick up around the mid to late first as well. So depending on who wants to come up and snag Fields, or even a Mac Jones or a Kyle Trask, or whoever's feeling the heat, you know, on a quarterback run, you know, Cincinnati could really start cashing out that third overall.
Yeah. I mean, if I think it's a no-brainer. Broshmo, what do you wanna add
Oh
in?
yeah, no, generational talent. You have your bridge quarterback currently in Teddy Bridgewater. He's fine. So if you want, you could go get a guy in the 2022 draft, whether it's Spencer Rattler, Sam Howell, Kanon Slovis.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think you're fine. Take the for sure thing at this point, and then I mean, you could get if you want, you could trade into the late first round if you really want a quarterback that bad, or maybe just snag one of the day two guys.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and move on. I mean, we got what pick 4? We got the Panthers. And this is where he believes that this is the wild card. He says that Panthers should draft the quarterback Justin Fields. Now, yeah, let's just say this plays out the way it is, Broshmo. What do you think? I mean, do you think that Fields would be a good landing? This would be a good landing spot for Fields with the Panthers?
Yeah, man. As long as Joe Brace are still on that coaching staff, man, I think a guy like Fields, who he's getting a lot of flack. His play has been pretty bad recently. He's a little too conservative with ball at times, but the guy's got an NFL arm. He's got a lot of zip beyond the ball. In 2019, he was among the most I think accurate passers from 10 yards or more. And a lot of people, I hate that people try to say, oh, he's going to be a bust. He's just like Dwayne Haskins. His Fields' average depth of target is like almost double of what Haskins was at Ohio State. Haskins would dump it off and let his playmakers do all the work. That's not Fields. He's not getting after the catchability from Chris Olave. I like Chris Olave. The dude just goes down after contact. Just the thing. So, you know, Fields is a different animal than Dwayne Haskins. And I really hope he plays well in the playoffs, because it's going to be really hard to back him if he
No,
doesn't.
I hear you. But look, I'm gonna go ahead and go on the limb. But hold on. Let's let Ned make your next pick. Who do you have the Panthers selecting?
He's actually Fields. I think in this instance, he's going to stop the drop at 4. I don't think he really makes it too far. I think he's drawn a lot of comparisons to, you know, a smaller Cam Newton, and I think that's probably going to scare a lot of the fan base. But as we've seen, like Matt Rule, he's an aggressive guy, man. He's going to go for what he wants. And I think Teddy Bridgewater was always going to be that stopover quarterback. He was going to be the guy that could keep them going where they want to go. As I said, Broshmo, if Joe Brady's on that offense, he's going to be, you know, able to work Fields into a stellar first or second year. I think that's a big if, though. There's a few coaching positions, and I've heard Joe Brady's a hot name on that. As he's going to be one of those guys that's probably going to be gone. But I like Matt Rule. I like the Fields to the Panthers pick. I think they've got some dynamic playmakers at wide receiver, and him with C-Mac, if they can shore up that O-line, it's going to put him in a really good position to succeed. But yeah, it's very much, I've even got in my notes everywhere. It's like if Fields doesn't do well in the playoffs, I could see him dropping out of the top 10. If he shows everyone exactly who he is, there's a chance he doesn't make it past number 2.
What I do want to point out something, and I know that if if Walter was on here with us, he would be saying that people that don't really know this, but Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence have been linked to the hip since like what is it,
Yep.
junior high? So they've been playing against each other since junior high all the way to high school. the Elite 11. I think Justin Fields actually beat out Trevor Lawrence in the Elite 11 competition. So, when you look at Justin Fields, I mean, like you said, let's not take anything away from him, right? I mean, the guy's a winner, and he's a true underdog. That he understands how to put the heat on his back, and he knows how to answer the questions afterwards, which is good, man. A true leader, by any means, right? So, just let's not knock Justin Fields too much
Yeah.
here.
And I think
Uh,
taking 2020 into account, like it's just been one of those years, man, where a lot has not gone well. The Big Ten, I mean, they weren't confirmed playing football until what, like mid-October. So
yeah,
as far as their like preparation time, I know a lot of those teams got shut down like midweek in practice. They couldn't practice for 2 weeks and then they had a game. So it's understandable to see the struggles that he has had. And he's gone up against some good defenses too. Not, Alabama good, but like Northwestern and Indiana are no pushovers. And those are the two games he's really struggled. So it'll be really interesting to see how he goes in the playoffs against some of the top defenses with a little bit of preparation time. I really want to believe that he's going to do well.
it makes perfect sense. So moving along, Falcons, right? The Falcons will be picking right now, as the way the draft order is. Falcons have the fifth pick, and this is where we see Micah Parsons get drafted by the Falcons, according to Walt's top 10 mock draft. Broshmo, what do you think? This is I'm pretty sure Atlanta would be. Atlanta needs some needs, man. But you get a Michael Parsons. Do you think that this solves a lot of problems on that defense?
A lot of their problems is the lack of pass rush on that defense. Dante Fowler he's never been a guy that creates a lot of pressure. He's a high sack guy, but he's always been a late to the party and reap all the rewards type of guy. It's really just Grady Jarrett doing it there. So I know a lot of people really want to go to the secondary with this pick, but I would definitely try to address pass rush in some way. And then, I mean, Micah Parsons, he kind of fills the bill there. I'd be between him and Kwity Paye for this pick because I do think that the Falcons, they have a very good linebacker core actually with I'm going to butcher his name. The former I think he came from Yale. He used to play safety at Yale. He's playing linebacker now. It's like Foye uh Olalukun or something like that. But he's currently one of the best coverage linebackers in the league. He's there with Deion Jones. So
You're
I
right.
get a little bit of a concern you're maybe crowding that linebacker room. But I mean, if you view Micah Parsons as more than just a off-ball linebacker and actually someone you can maybe fit into where they would kind of use Beasley and McKinley kind of as a pass rusher, off-ball linebacker type of hybrid, then yeah, there's a lot of value there.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think that, what attracts him is because yes, he can play off the ball right linebacker, but he has good pass rushing skills and very violent hands. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he's a monster. So who do you have the Falcons picking? That
Yeah, so it was a tough one because again, I agree with Broshmo. They've got a lot of needs, and one of the big ones they've had for years has been getting a consistent and solid pass rush. I've actually gone with Pat Sertan though. I think this is a best player available type of situation. I think the Falcons again would be a team that would probably benefit from dropping down 3 or 4 picks, depending on who is on the board. If they're forced to stick there, I think Kwity Paye's still a little bit too high. Guys like Pat Jones, Carlos Basham, again, still a little bit too high. So I've just gone with best available, Pat Sertan, and we've already talked about him. I mean, I love the way he uses sidelines. I love how close he covers guys. He makes guys have to make perfect throws to hit him down the sideline.
yeah.
I think that that's probably going to be the pick of there. We're going to stick with number 5.
No, it makes perfect sense. And I'm gonna say something a little bit off subject. I think it was Greg Williams, right, who just recently got fired from the
Yeah.
Jets, the defensive
Yeah.
coordinator. I think he said it best. When you get yourself two really good corners, you make that pass rush instantly better. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that, right? So that's where the whole coverage sacks come into play. But like you said, I mean, when you're constructing a defense, you'd like to do it from the inside out, right? Not. I mean, when you look at the more what's the word I'm looking for? When you're looking for the actual teams that have success, they constructed that defense from the inside out, right? So they from the front
Yeah, you look
seven.
at guys that started with the D line, and you got obviously the 49ers when they're not injured, completely. the Pittsburgh Steelers, and even the Washington football team. They've had an impressive run. They don't have strong corners. I mean, it's not even that long ago that Pittsburgh was talking about how their secondary was too slow, they're too old. All of a sudden, you add in a TJ Watt and Devin Bush, and all of a sudden, that defensive secondary doesn't look so bad. Joe Hayden, not Joe Biden. All of a sudden he looks like his old Pro Bowl self. So I think that the Falcons could potentially revitalize some of those guys that have along the defensive line. I know there's going to be some good free agents in both the secondary and pass rush coming this year, but it's also going to depend on what kind of coach they go. Do they go another defensive-minded coach? If that's the case, do they slam down the defensive line? Is that their priority? A guy like Robert Saleh, he loves his defensive line. He loves having that rush full pressure. So I think that's going to be really telling as to where they actually go with that pick as well.
Yeah, I think that like when you look at it, I think you said it perfect, right? You said that it all depends on the actual coach they bring in, because honestly, I think it's time for the Falcons to move on. I think it's time for a quarterback. So look, we got somebody on here. He says, Matt, I'm sorry, I don't want to butcher your last name, but Matt says, I know it's not on topic, but what did you guys think of the Pro Bowl selection? Well, we'll get to that in just a few. Me personally, for DeForest Buckner not to be there, I mean, what's going on? Yeah, what's going on?
Have a look, man.
Yeah. So moving along, we got the Broshmo's Miami Dolphins. Now, Broshmo, before we get into it, let me go ahead and just get the picks in, and then we're gonna ask you a tough question here. So right here we have the Dolphins picking Devontae Smith in Walter's top 10 pick. He just says tagging up. Let's go ahead and just put Tua back together with Devontae and let that magic spark happen. I mean, when you look at this, mock the mock.
Well, without the option to trade down, and I think in his mock he says Jamar Chase on the board, I'm assuming. So I think I would still go with Jamar Chase in this with this pick, because I know people love the Smith and Tua reunited and it feels so good. But at the same time, you look at, okay, Smith, what he does best. He's one of the better guys in the SEC that gets really clean releases. He's very physical at the catch point. But will that translate to the NFL for a wide receiver that's 174 pounds? See, Jamar Chase, he does those things well, and he's plus 200. So I feel like a lot of people forget, because it was so long ago that he dominated 2019,
Yeah.
And I think with here, like I love Smith as a prospect, and I love the idea of reuniting him and Tua, but I think Jamar Chase would still be my pick personally if we're gonna go receiver.
So with that, what do you got there?
Yeah, so I've gone Jamar Chase as well. I think that what the Miami Dolphins need is a little bit more size, especially at the receiver. And I mean, he's 6'1", he's 208 thereabouts. At least last time we saw him. Who knows where he is now? But
right.
I think that frame's still one that has the ability to add more bulk. If he can get up somewhere like 215, 220 at 6'1", he's going to be an absolute menace to deal with. He's going to be one of those guys that you can work in and outside, down in the red zone, out in space. He attacks space like no other guy. And him and Burrow, I mean, he showed what kind of production he can pull out with a quarterback. And I think having that kind of weapon for the Dolphins is going to be huge. But I agree. I think that they're in prime position to trade back at this point. And I think collecting additional picks, there's so much talent in the second and third round as well that they can really attack that receiver spot later on and probably not lose out. But I think if they've got to stick with their Jamar Chase, has got to be the guy.
I'm pretty sure, Broshmo, you're running up to that podium and turning the card in and with no time left on board, huh?
Yeah, if I can't get a trade done, then yeah, run it up there last second.
Because look, let's just think about this real quick. I mean, let's just say they do take a trade, right? I mean, for whatever reason, let's say they do take a trade and are able to stay within that vicinity of Devontae Smith. I mean, what do you think? I mean, would you do it? Would you be upset if the Dolphins do that?
I wouldn't be upset. I think it's when it becomes, for me, I don't think it's an argument between who you're picking, Chase or Smith. Now, if we have Smith, I think Jalen Waddle needs to be entered into the conversation.
Oh man, I like that.
Dude, Jalen Waddle's really good. He has that Tua connection. What was it in the over the last 2 seasons, not including in 2020? He was second in passer rating when targeted in the slot and yards when targeted in the slot. The only guy that was ahead of him was CeeDee Lamb. He's one of the most efficient slot receivers in this draft. He's electric with the ball in his hands. He does a lot after the catch. And I mean, that's something that I know Lynn Bowden looked pretty good a week ago, but that's just something the Dolphins, they don't have a playmaker like that. Someone that
Yeah.
could create with the ball in their hands. So I think that's a much tougher call than Smith and Chase. It's tougher with Smith and Waddle.
I will
So
say I will add that to Jalen Waddle. I love the way he plucks that ball right out of the air. I mean, even though what is he like 5'10", right? What is
yeah, I
5'11"?
think he's in the 5'10", 5'11".
So, but still, for him the way that he plucks the ball out of the air, well, before his injury, of course. I mean, my goodness. I mean, you're talking about you almost look like the cheetah out there at some points because he has that kind of speed, right?
Yeah, that's the
So,
thing that people question about Devontae Smith is he's not slow by any means, but a lot of it is he's long field speed.
no,
You know,
yeah,
he's not necessarily quick.
but
So,
the way but we just saw Justin Jefferson make the actual Pro Bowl this year, right? So, and he's a
oh yeah.
rookie. So I've seen some of those similarities or comparisons that people want to make, but it's so hard, right? Because you're talking about two different wide receivers. But I do see some of Devontae Smith's game. I do see some of Justin Jefferson's game and Devontae Smith because of what, like you said, the separation and how they're just so elusive in and out of the breaks. I mean, it's just they're going to be breaking ankles here. So
Yeah.
let's
It's a
move.
good
Let's
problem
move.
to have.
It is. Let's move along. I always love to get a different team, and the Dolphins is a team that on the East West. I don't think we have somebody that really cheers on for the Dolphins. So that was actually interesting right there. So moving along, the Eagles are picking seventh currently, and this is where Walter says that they need to go ahead and just lock up Caleb Farley for the long haul.
I agree. Secondary is pretty bad. Farley, he's got elite traits. It's if he goes into the combine and just blows it up, I think people are gonna look at him like he's CJ Henderson. That's what made CJ Henderson a top 10 pick. Like people were really just viewing him as a mid to late first rounder. Blew up the combine. They're like, oh man, he's got all these elite shutdown corner traits that teams just roll off, and then bam, top 10. So
Right,
yeah.
just like that. Who'd you got? Who do you have them picking? It.
I got Micah Parsons. I think, Caleb Farley, Micah Parsons, I wouldn't hate either pick as an Eagles fan. I think it has to be defense. As much as they have had struggles on offense this year, I've heard that a lot of people want to go quarterback, get Wentz out of there. But at the end of the day, I mean, you just used a second round pick on, Jalen Hurts. He's still got a Wentz, which, not that long ago we we're talking about as an MVP candidate. So I think that with a healthier offensive line, a healthier wide receiving core, I think that you could probably leave that till day two. I think Micah Parsons is probably the best athlete in the draft, a guy who can sit in that middle linebacker, that Micah position. He could blitz. And I know that they love to bring pressure. They love to be aggressive on defense there with Schwartz. I'd love to have, a weapon like Micah Parsons there.
Man, Broshmo, before you mock that mock, if he does fall, I mean, we've seen that the Eagles have been, I don't know, for whatever reason, hesitant to draft a linebacker in the first round. But mock the mock. If this happens, Michael Parsons has this fall. What do you think?
No, yeah, I think Parsons definitely is going to be the safer prospect here. I think you kind of have a tough call between here and probably the secondary, definitely. Because I kind of view corner a bit more valuable than I would a linebacker, but I mean, Parsons is just special. You can't just pass up on that when your linebacking core looks like that, when your depth is not there.
Yeah, well, that rush defense just seemed to like fizzle out early in the season, and I mean, teams have been able to run off
Doesn't
them.
help when the offense is going 3 and out. So
Well, I guess you make a great point there. So moving along, we got the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, who in here is a Dallas Cowboy fan? I wonder. Let me see. Anybody out there? Cowboy fans? No, no. Okay. Well, so this Walt has the Cowboys picking at number 8. Gregory, man, I hope I'm saying his last name right. Russo.
yep.
It's because if you look at his last name, it's spelled like Junior Seau. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I
So
had to listen to it multiple times.
now mock the mock. What do you think, Broshmo?
Ooh, man, I think Russo, you're gonna. This is a guy that's gonna. He's losing a lot of steam. He's really losing a lot by opting out this season. He's a
Oh,
yeah, which it sucks because he did it for personal reasons, and total respect to that. But he came into last year as a guy more. He looked better as a pass rusher on the interior. He's got a freaky frame, and you were kind of hoping in 2020 to kind of see a development in technique, just a more complete toolbox of pass rush moves. We won't get that now, So it's all these questions we have. I mean, this literally is the edge class. It's like, oh, we have these freaks, whether it's like physically, athletically, but production's questionable, or there's questions with just technique and whatnot. So it's literally a bunch of guys that you're hoping you can develop. So, Russo, man, oh, yeah, I don't know. Cowboys are in kind of a tough position. Another position where I think I'd like them to trade back, especially if there's not a Surtain or a Farley there. It might be a little too early for JC Horn, but
look
yeah,
at
maybe trade
look at what Walt just mentioned right now.
back.
Walt, so
Jerry
good.
Jones pick.
It's so nice of
Actually,
you to join us, Walt.
I
Well, I
actually had
will
the
say,
Cowboys in my last mock take Gregor Russo, but I had them trading down.
oh, okay.
So
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I'll tell you this. I think that when you look at it, I think that one of the unsung heroes for the Dallas Cowboys is McCray, right? I think that he does a phenomenal job as far as evaluating talent. I know that he missed on Taco a couple years back, but I think that they're going to look at this and kind of want to see, is this another Taco Charlton? So, the Cowboys, what is the thing that everybody hates about the Cowboys? It's Super Bowl every year. And is Gregory going to be that impact is he going to make that impact for the Cowboys that's going to give him that? So, uh, it's one of those things that what me personally, when I saw him pick that, I was like, man, they need to trade down because if they miss out and Patrick Surtain or Caleb Farley, they need to get out because they need more help on the back end. Trayvon Diggs looks spectacular for the Cowboys this year, but man, they need some safety help. But I don't really see a safety at picking at number 8 unless we're talking about next year, maybe Kyle Hamilton. But I mean that's
Stud.
still that's still 2022, right? Ned, give me your Cowboys pick.
Yeah, Jerry Jones is a wild card, man. He's a big name guy, a guy who will make a rise at the last minute, a college football playoff guy, someone who's going to show out at the combine, and Jerry Jones is going to be subscribing to him. So it's hard to say, but I think in this instance, in my mock, Caleb Farley's still available, and I think that that's got to be the pick. I think that he is going to show up a secondary that has been bleeding yards for the better part of the season. They've got a lot of holes to kind of plug on that defense. I think the offense is going to be just fine. They're going to get a lot of guys back, especially with Dak Prescott, running there. Tony Pollard's looked great at points in this year. I think the other place they could attack is also the interior offensive line. They've lost a lot to injury, some to retirement there, and it's no longer that all-pro line that they had a couple of years back, which made Zeke so good. So I think that if Farley or Satan are not available and they can't find a trade partner, they may even go for a tackle like Rashawn Slater or even a guard like Austin Wyatt Davis is another guy that could go as well. But in this instance, I think you got to take Farley, give them a corner piece in that secondary to really work around.
Wow, Broshville, I need to hear your take on this one.
Yeah, no, I agree. If I feel much better picking at 8, picking one of these corners than I did a couple of weeks ago when they were at like 4.
Yeah.
Because like if I'm being honest, man, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, I don't care who. I'd be trying to get another quarterback in there, and then move on from Dak. Not so much move on from Dak, but move on from the money I'd have to pay Dak.
You know, it's that's been the talk of town. You know, me personally from Texas, I know that there's people that love Dak and there's people that just don't like Dak. But what you said, I think that maybe if they were a two-win team or maybe even a one-win team, I think that they should have stayed there and gotten to the sweepstakes, right? I mean, like you said, you can always kind of play chess, right? Or if you want to make Dak your franchise, then you could trade that number one pick for what, three first rounders minimal at least,
Oh, for Lawrence though, that's gonna be a
like an
high
overhaul.
price.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because Robert Griffin was what, it was that year's first round plus two additional first round and a second round. So I can only imagine what Trevor Lawrence was gonna get.
Yeah.
I
So
think I think the
what?
point they're going to make though is whether they're going to actually make Dak the franchise guy. You know, they've been floating around whether they want to pay franchise money or not, and there's no guarantee Dak even comes back next year. You know, they may have to tag him again. I think that they've got a solid, backup corner piece in Andy Dalton. I don't understand why you guys don't think he's the future of the Cowboys. You know, Texas man through and through. But yeah, I think that if there's a potential that they decide that they're not going to go with Dak moving forwards, you've also got a guy like Mac Jones, who's also probably going to be there at 8 as well, and he's been moving up the boards. He's looked really good lately, and he's another guy that they say, hey, look, Dak is not the guy. They're going to save a lot of money, like Broshmo said, in letting Dak go, and then maybe chase secondary and free agency. Got a lot of guys that are going to be potentially coming up as well.
Man, I don't know about that, but I would, if I'm the Cowboys. Look, I know. Look, Dak is limited to what he could do, but he knows his limitations, and he's not going to push past those limitations. And he's going to play the ball that the type of football that he plays, which is he's not going to get those turnovers. He's going to and he can make the throws when he needs to make those throws. I think that the only thing is that the offense is changing on the Cowboys. I mean, in the last previous years, we've been seeing them, I mean, giving the ball to Zeke and just running it, running it, running it. And when you look at the big picture, Zeke looked almost obsolete in this season. And I think it's just the style that Mike McCarthy wants to run. I think that it's just one of those things that, oh, man, when you look at the big picture, dang, if you could continue to have that success with Zeke, bring in Dak, I think that you have the right pieces in place. Let's move along. We have the Chargers picking ninth, and believe it or not, we have Patrick Jones being selected and Walter's mock draft. So he has Patrick Jones, the defensive end from the Pitt, or is he an outside linebacker? What is he?
He's end. He's an edge
So
rusher. Yeah.
what do you think? Mock the mock, Broshmo.
I got a 4th round grade on Patrick Jones.
Yeah.
So I'm not loving it too much.
It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. I think that I think the thing is that Quiddy Pay, right? I mean, we've seen him from Michigan, right? The defensive end. A lot of people want to kind of say like, okay, well, is he a 1-year wonder, or is he, just doing it because he's declaring for the draft?
Yeah. I think the difference is you have Quiddy Pay, who he made Bruce Feldman's freaks list. This is a guy that's gonna be killer in the 3-cone. He's gonna blow up the combine.
Mm-hmm.
People are gonna look at him athletically at 277, I think, too. And it's like they're gonna fall in love. And his production, he was much better this season. Like, he did what we wanted to see from Gregory Rousseau. He took that step forward. And that's why I got him in my number one. But I don't see the same with Patrick Jones. I think he's a good technician. I don't see a very explosive first step. I actually think he's the second best edge rusher on that team next to Rashad Weaver. I think Rashad Weaver's, while he not necessarily most athletic, but the dude's one of the best power rushers in this draft. So I think I would like to actually go after, if I'm this pick, probably one of the offensive tackles here, whether it's Cosme or Darisa. That was me.
Nice. Who do you got, Ned?
Yeah, so I don't know that Melvin Ingram is necessarily gone just yet. I know there's been a lot of talk about having to replace him, but Joey Bosa's an absolute force on the other side. And I think with the depth of Russia in this draft, you could probably attack that on day 2 as well. So I've gone Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. I think that even with missing this year, what he's shown over the last couple of years is not only like an incredible mobility and power run, but also his ability to move across the line. He could play guard, which is where actually I would probably put him with the Chargers. I think that they're pretty set with Balaga out at the tackle, but I'd probably push him inside, take advantage of his mobility and his power inside, and kind of reduce where some of his weaknesses are, which is getting blown by some of the more star edge rushers as well. So I'd go Rashawn Slater, gives a bit of versatility, and that way if they do get an injury at the tackle position, they can always just shove him out there. He'll be fine.
Mock the mock, Broshmo.
I like Rashawn Slater a lot. I don't get like I feel like he became a first round pick out of nowhere. Like right after the 2022 draft, he was my number 20 number 20 player on my board. I loved him. Then he opted out. I was like, okay, I guess he's a second rounder now, I feel like people are gonna jump him, and then suddenly like everyone and their mother are putting Rashawn Slater. I was like, what the heck happened, dude? Because I loved Rashawn Slater. What bandwagon did I miss? But he's a great prospect. There are going to be worries because he's 6'3". They're worried he has short arms, so not certain if tackle is going to be what he projects to in the NFL. I say ride it until the wheels fall off, and then maybe just put him at guard, because I mean he graded out consistently for 2 seasons at right, and then he was utterly dominant at left tackle. He put out a good showing against Chase Young, which was the Big Ten measuring stick for every offensive tackle in the Big Ten, Jalen Mayfield. But yeah, I think for me it's a little too early. But I mean, if people are really that high on it, if you think that's your guy, then go for it. I really like the guy as a prospect, and he does bring that bit of versatility. So I think Samuel Cosmi is a better scheme fit for that kind of like zone blocking scheme they got going on there. But I know that's another guy a lot of people either love him or they hate him. So
yeah, I think it's interesting you bring up Chase Young because it seems like Chase Young's burst back onto the scene, and so all of a sudden any college tackle that did all right against him is back into the first round.
Right? Well, he had a better I mean, because the talk before when we came into the season was Jalen Mayfield, right? We want to see him at left tackle because he did so good with Chase Young, but now as the season, like kind of like you said, has been a really bumpy road, especially for the Buckeyes, right? With all these, but when he has been out there, I mean he has I think what was it? How many hurries did he have? How many penalties he has? So when you do that, when you start talking about these offensive tackles that had success against Chase Young, I mean Rashawn Slater had even better success against Chase Young. I mean he almost like basically stopped him in his tracks almost every time he came after him. So I think that's where Rashawn Slater is kind of being moved up in what we see, and like you said, versatility. So, but I like that name you just mentioned because Walt has the Giants picking 10th, and he has a Samuel Cosmi from.
I thought you were gonna say Jalen Mayfield because I got a world of problems with Jalen Mayfield.
No. He has the Giants picking Samuel Cosmi, the Texas Longhorn. So let me go ahead and give a shout out to the Longhorns, Texas native. So mock the mock.
I like Cosmi. I don't know. I don't get it a little bit just because Andrew Thomas, he's looked pretty good recently. I thought he played Myles Garrett really well this past week. Granted, Garrett's getting over the whole Rona stuff, but they have Matt Pert sitting there waiting at right tackle. And I assume if they're bringing in Cosmi, they're going to play him at right. He has experience at both, fortunately, but so does Thomas. So they could kind of like do that. So I don't know. I was a big Matt Pert guy last draft. I thought he could have snuck into the first round. He ended up going, I think, the third round. So I think they could address maybe playmakers, edge rusher, corner. I think there's just bigger holes on their roster. So I don't mind it. It's a good pick, but I just think there's other areas.
Who did you have, Ned? Last pick.
But I think the Giants they got holes at pretty much a lot of different positions. So I think that they can go just about anywhere with this pick. I've gone Gregory Rousseau just because I don't trust Ed Gettleman to make a correct pick. in the draft. I think he's got a lot of physical talent. And again, if they can coach that guy up, I mean, he's got worlds of potential. He's got great use of his arms, great use of his length. Again, you can play him inside, outside. It doesn't really matter where you want to kind of put him. You can suit his body around it. But I think that there is probably going to be better talent that they could select and better positions they go after, especially Jalen Waddle is still there. Potentially Devonta Smith if they want to bring in an electric playmaker. At the wideout position, you still got Kyle Pitts if they want to, replace Evan Ingram as well. There's a lot of different ways that they can go with this pick, but I don't trust David Gettleman to do that.
Well, mock the mock.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see what Joe Judge would do with a guy like Russo, who you could really play him a little bit on the inside, a little bit on the outside. He at least in theory, he should have that type of versatility. But I mean, again, that's the edge class this year, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like it's traits. It's all traits and upside, and just hoping for production at the next level.
Well, before we get off today's show, of course, we want to thank everybody that tuned in and the people that chimed in. Let me go ahead and give you my picks 1 through 10. I'm gonna have to look down for this, so sorry, guys. And then I'll mock the mock, but I won't stop in between. So I had the Jags picking Lawrence, of course. There's no brainer. Jets going Fields, Bengals going Sewell, Panthers going Parsons, Falcons going Russo, Dolphins going Chase, Eagles going Surtain, Cowboys going Farley, Chargers going Pay, and Giants going Devontae Smith. Mock the mock, Broshmo.
Where's Zach Wilson? Where's Zach Wilson?
I was so tempted to go with the Falcons there, man, because I think the Falcons need a new quarterback, but
yeah, I feel like for me, it's like if I'm any of these teams, if I'm the Panthers, if I'm the Falcons, if I'm the Cowboys, and if I'm the Giants and Wilson's still on the board, I'm almost jumping like, all right, let's do it. Like maybe not the Falcons, because I mean, I know Matt Ryan, he's 36, but he's also on a pretty rough contract.
Yeah, 49 million dead cap, I think, this next year.
Yeah, so you might be limited in what you can do with that. So I mean, next year's quarterback class is going to be should be in theory a banger too. So
yeah,
I mean, you could obviously wait, but yeah, I think there's like at least 3 teams, if not like maybe 3 other teams that are like picking like at 11, 12, 13, 14, and actually 15, 6. Yeah, I see all these teams that would be jumping for joy trading up for Zach Wilson. Like I think he's that good of a prospect right now.
Man, I love the insight. So last comment. Walter said the Giants invested 2 top 10 picks the past couple of years and a quarterback and running back who both almost fell apart this season. Helped them. So that I guess he was defending the offensive line. I think that when you can, like you said, I mean, when you want to solidify those bookends, right? Once you solidify those bookends, they just make the whole interior of the offensive line better. So we'll see. We'll see how this year's NFL draft goes. I mean, a lot of this can change in a week. So the actual lineup itself,
as it did.
Yeah, it did this essay. We were talking right before, right? We were saying, don't you think that the Colts front office is saying, hey guys, do we really want to have to face off against Trevor Lawrence this for the next 10 years? Do you think that we should just start if they lock it up, of course. If they lock it up, don't you think they would say, you know what, we're gonna give our starters a rest, so to say, and just let the backups in and hopefully the Jags come away with that win, after the lockup of the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
We're joking around, but I don't know. I mean, you never know. These teams, they play chess. They don't tell us what they're doing. I mean, do you think that AFC South wants to face Trevor Lawrence, for the next 10 years?
I feel like no team would want to face Trevor Lawrence. I mean, if he ends up turning out to what everyone expects him to be, he's going to be rough to face. I mean, unless Adam Gase is his coach, I think there's really no way he fails. So
if anything, you probably make Adam Gase look good, right?
Peyton Manning did.
Yeah, whisperer, so
Well, tune in, everybody. Make sure you guys tune in. Of course, today we had our special guest Broshmo, and like I said, make sure you go to YouTube. Hit up his page, his actual YouTube page. It's Broshmo. And remember, become Broshmo. Subscribe, hit that like button, and turn on notifications. I mean, Broshmo, he is killing it. I mean, he'll give you breakdowns on positional players. He'll mock the mocks. He gives you great mock drafts himself. Broshmo, anything else you want to add on?
No, thanks for having me, man. I really do appreciate it. It's always fun talking about the draft. So
Yeah. Well, for the East West Football Network family and people that tune in, keep tuning in. We're gonna be doing these shows twice a week, and as soon as we know who's been eliminated from the actual draft or from the actual playoffs, and we know the draft order, we're gonna continuously give you different mock draft scenarios. It's always a fun time, right, for the off season. So thank you all for tuning in. Y'all have a great night.